history, both past, present, and into the future. So thank y'all so much for coming. I want to recognize a few people real briefly. We have Senator Bob Deuell here with us, our state senator. Judge Bruce Wood, our county judge here in Kaufman County. Judge Wood, nice to see you. Senator Wood, nice to see you. Mayor Hal Richards of Terrell. Okay, thank you very much. I also want to introduce Don Thurman, who is the CEO of the wonderful British Flying Training School Museum here, and also members of the Kaufman County Historical Commission. We've got Janet Honeycutt, Judy McSpadden, Stan Catt, and also Betty Brown, our former state representative. So thank y'all all for coming. And without further ado, I'll introduce our mayor here at Terrell, Hal Richards, to bring some official remarks to the festivities today. Thank y'all.
Thank you very much. Well, I want to welcome all of you that are here. This has probably been a long time in coming. It's the sound of freedom. This has probably been a long time in coming. It's like things always seem to be. There's a few people that do a tremendous amount of work and bring something like this forward, and we really appreciate the efforts of everyone who's worked so hard. The BFTS is a great story that has lots of different facets. But one of the facets that fascinates me and a lot of other people is the impact that the establishment of the BFTS had on people in this community. And I think it's a story that's unparalleled anyplace else, and it's fantastic that we recognize it here. We're extremely proud of our terminal. It is reminiscent of those days, and we would just encourage you to get involved in the museum, and thanks to all of the volunteers.
Thanks, Mayor. I'd like to now introduce Don Thurman with the British Flying Training School Museum. Thank you.
I just want to echo a little bit what Mayor Richards said. I've got a brief story to go with that. We publish a quarterly newsletter. Many of you have seen them, many of you have not. It's got a lot of background and history. And in fact, the summer issue that we have right now has a story of Miss Pauline. We are rebuilding an AT-6 airplane that we've flown here in 1943-44, and we're naming it Miss Pauline because back in 1941, her uncle was one that sold the land to build the airport. She went down to Baylor to get a degree in education. She came back from Baylor to teach in the Terrell School, but instead of teaching here, the federal government was paying more money out here. So she became an instructor at the Terrell Flying School, and she was a simulator instructor. You've seen the simulator at the museum. And just last week, we received a letter here at the museum from one of her students. He's in Canada. He wrote back because he had received one of these. These go worldwide. He had received this, and he said, Miss Pauline, I'm so pleased that you're going to get your name on an airplane. And he said, I remember one Monday morning, you woke me up in that simulator and said, what kind of a weekend did you have? And he wanted to congratulate. And he's 91 years old, living in Canada, and that's just the kind of stories that just continue on and on and on. History is living here in Terrell, Texas, every day. And so that's the way the museum ties. And when the boys, if you want to call them that, the British cadets, would form up on Sunday mornings, march from here to the Episcopal Church. They had a great service. Then they would disband to the homes of the Terrellites and have a good meal and a lot of good fellowship. So it's living and it's just continuing, and that's what this, and if you've seen the pictures in the museum, you'll notice that the terminal of 1941 looked just like this, or this looked just like the terminal of 41. So it's all carried together. This city of Terrell is the British capital of Texas. And we're going to put a seal on some of our letterheads someday.
Thank you, Don. I'd like to now introduce our state senator, Bob Deuell. Senator Deuell.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. It's also great to see our former state representative Betty Brown, and who actually used to be my state rep when she had Hunt County. Betty, great to see you. And I think your husband's coming in for a landing now. Hopefully didn't jump out for nostalgia's sake. I just briefly want to say that reading what's going to be on this memorial and plaque is that Peggy Noonan said in her book about Ronald Reagan that the children are the little bodies of children, are the repositories of the greatness of a future age, but they must feed from the tables of those who have gone before and slayed dragons. And this man and what this represents and everything, he's one of those people who slayed dragons, and I look forward to the children of Texas coming by here and having their parents perhaps even read this to them and explain to them about what this man represents. So without further ado, I think we're going to nail this. And,
Okay.
oh, you got one more thing?
Yeah, we got Dr. Plaske.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Thanks.
Thank you, Senator Deuell. Thank you very much. Okay. Now, I'd like to, one of probably the most foremost historian here in Kaufman County, Dr. Horace Platt, would like to speak a little bit about the background behind this speaker. Dr. Platt?
It's often been said that I do not speak loudly enough, and with the wind, it'll be a double challenge. But I thought I would start off by simply reminding those of you who were at the dedication of the BFTS marker of a memorial service held in Dallas in 1976 for WWII. I'd like to read what a close friend of his said. Major Bill Law, soldier of fortune in the truest sense, gun runner and smuggler to his friends south of the border, debonair idol of the debutantes, a southern gentleman right out of Gone with the Wind, a polo star of international repute, a mean man with a mallet and a top hand with a horse. I think that Mike here will join with me in saying, man who was a Casanova, if you like. So there must be more to the story in that. And it's found in the name by which he is known in Dallas as Mr. Love Field. And I think what I want to start with, he was born in the hills of Missouri. He went on to dine in the White House, be honored by the President of the United States and by the King of England. How did he get there? He had a long experience. From Missouri, he became a cowboy in South Texas, worked at that for a while until World War I began. As others, he signed up for the draft, but he decided that he wanted the much more adventuresome and dangerous career of an aviator. During the war, he experienced the training that the pilots of that day underwent, and he resolved to himself that that should never happen again. After the war, he was a stunt pilot in the era of barnstorming, and I'll content myself with simply saying that one of his most famous stunts was that of flying a plane, setting it afire while it's in flight, letting it crash while he parachuted to the ground. I don't think the FAA would allow something like that to happen today. He went into business after the war, selling airplanes. And in my research, I came across a picture of hangar number 5 at Love Field, completely filled with crated airplanes, surplus airplanes, which he then proceeded to sell all over this country and even abroad. I discovered a picture of him in Lima, Peru, hawking his planes. But more importantly, he used his experience to start an aviation training school and an aircraft mechanics school at Love Field. And it was that experience, transferring what he had learned to others, that enabled him to be called by General Hap Arnold to Washington to start the training of the pilots that Arnold knew would be needed for World War II. He succeeded beyond anyone's imagination, and his schools trained something around 10% of all U.S. pilots trained during World War II. And it was for that he was honored by the President and the King. He didn't stop there. He went ahead to found 3 Texas airlines, one of the most famous of which became our well-known Braniff Airlines. He continued his interest in aviation through the rest of his career, but he went into ranching, and I was surprised to find that he finally received a doctorate degree in animal husbandry for his skill in raising sheep and goats. What an end to a career for a very remarkable person. And I think of all of the markers that I have worked on, I think I have found the research for this particular marker the most interesting and the most important that I have done. Thank you.
Now we want to ask Mayor Richards and Senator Deuell to unveil the historical marker.
Ready? I guess.
On behalf of the Kaufman County Historical Commission, I hereby dedicate this marker.
Okay.
Nice job.
On behalf of the Texas Historical Commission, we'd also like to dedicate this in conjunction with the Kaufman County Historical Commission and officially dedicate this marker. May God continue to bless us in this fine state and its citizens. Thank you very much for coming.